He has an infinite amount of grenades. It's like 30 of them.
Yeah, it's like watching Mario Kart or something.
Yes.
He's like dropping grenades off the back of this. Hello and welcome back to the 153rd episode. Good, Bad, Bad Show, Watch Terrible Movies. Tell you should too. I'm your host, Mr. Brian Shilligo, joined once again, and as always, by the other host of this illustrious television YouTube show.
YouTube is television nowadays.
Sure. Mr. Kyle Hinton. Kyle, I feel like it hasn't been that long since we visited our old friend Gary Daniels.
He is the martial arts master of the 90s.
This is, I don't know if that feels like an overselling of Gary Daniels, but according to this box for this film we're talking about today, that is the case, and I'm excited to talk about it. It is 1998's Recoil.
That name has the name of this has a lot of connotations throughout this film.
Disappear, Ray. Get your wife and kids out of the city. Somebody's put a bullseye on your forehead.
Yeah, I mean, the main one being this is a revenge film, and the recoil is him recoiling against the people who...
I thought it was the third law of motion. Every action has an opposite and equal.
Yeah.
Isn't that what recoil is, Brian? Isn't that what recoil is?
Yeah, Kyle, but they're going a little metaphorical with it.
Okay.
I believe, a little allegorical. Maybe not allegorical. But anyways, this movie... was one of the ones we got in the mail. Is why we have a physical copy. We're doing 2 back-to-back mail episodes from our P.O. box.
Because you cared enough to bring them to us, we are going to care enough to bring them to you.
We wanted to talk about them. And the first one that we found was this. I saw this cover, and I was like, Kyle, this looks like a U special. A Gary Daniels 90s action flick that's right up your alley.
Little did we know that the entire budget for this film was just...
The first 20 minutes of the film?
The first 20 minutes.
The first 20 minutes of this movie are incredible.
It's chaos, but it's like good.
Well shot, well edited, well put together chaos, and it's kind of amazing.
A lot of people in this movie have unlocked a certain video game perk that we're familiar with from the 90s, Infinite Ammo.
Infinite Ammo, baby. Oh, boy. We'll get to it. There's one scene in particular where Gary Daniels is using 2 revolvers.
Yes.
And he has infinite bullets in them. Like, it's one thing. You can kind of cheat it with a magazine, like, because it's harder to know how many rounds. You know, some of them have more or less, whatever. And it's quick to reload. So maybe we just didn't see him reload. But with a revolver, it's very obvious.
Yeah, let's just say the average of 6, and then you're like, oh, right.
And he shoots like 50 times in that scene. Well, we'll get to it. So this film is written and directed by Art Camacho, which is a hell of a name.
Yes.
Isn't that like the name of the president from like Idiocracy? Isn't his name like Camacho or something? I think that's his name, played by Terry Crews. It's like he's like Art Camacho or something like that. But here's the bio for Art Camacho on IMDb. Considered one of the most accomplished directors, fight choreographers, and stuntmen in independent martial arts films, dubbed the Fight Master by Inside Kung Fu magazine. His directorial work includes Wild League, Assassin X, Recoil, Confessions of a Pit Fighter, Half Past Dead 2, The Power Within, Little Bigfoot, and Little Bigfoot 2. I don't know if you remember the Little Bigfoot films.
I think I remember the Little Bigfoot films.
Horrifying nightmare children's movies. A la Mac and Me.
Go, they're gonna get you, go! Don't you see they're coming after you? They're gonna kill you! They're gonna kill you, Bilbo!
I had never, aside from Recoil and Little Bigfoot, I had not heard of any of those.
No, me neither. I will say, he's a pretty good director, especially for action, and we'll talk more about it as we get into it. But he would, I think, he would have been a fantastic one. Which I looked, and he didn't really have much credits, like second unit like action director, and it doesn't seem like he had much of a career in that because his action scenes in this movie are very well directed and shot and edited. But we'll get into that. So we open up in this film. It takes place in 1990, whatever, late 90s in LA.
Yes.
And we open up with a radio show. DJ talking about violence.
Talk about violence.
Sunny day in the Southland, traffic's flowing, and so is the blood. Today's topic is violence.
My favorite part of this radio show is the first person who calls in. He goes, "Hi, Aaron, you're on the line. You have a nice voice. What do you think about violence?" And her response is,
"Oh my God,
I think it's awful."
Really?
Which is
really?
Hi, Aaron, you have a nice voice. What do you think about violence?
Well, I think it's awful. We should be able to live together without killing each other.
just grade A conversation that we're having here on the radio. It's amazing. But then we get right into it with the action. A big band of bank robbers, highly armored, highly armed.
The armor that looks like it came straight out of Firepower.
Yes. Yeah.
Really crappy body armor.
Gigantic like body armor. And they're holding up a bank, and it's very quickly became clear to me once so they do like the standard like everybody get down on the ground, blah blah blah, and then the cops show up outside and a shootout immediately breaks out.
Oh yeah.
And it became very clear to me that this movie was at least a little bit inspired by the North Hollywood shootout, because like if you remember the North Hollywood shootout from like
not.
So in 1997 these two dudes robbed a bank in LA.
Oh, heavy body armor.
Yeah,
and
and a lot of the footage that they shoot in this movie is reminiscent of some of the like helicopter shots of that like event that took place, which is an interesting.
I was honestly thinking Heat, but
also Heat. Yeah, sure that as well. But this came out like a year or two after the North Hollywood shootout, and it felt like, again, with the body armor and just everything that was going on, I was like, I feel like they're kind of going for a North Hollywood shootout thing here, but it's actually pretty amazing, like pretty well shot, lots of chaos going on. I say pretty well shot. One of the first shots that we see of our main character was very funny to me.
Oh my God.
It's Gary Daniels and his partner driving.
Yes.
And it's like a composited driving shot, and they're doing the like bouncing.
Not only that, so like he's he's a cop, so he's got like a radio and stuff in his car.
Yeah.
You probably didn't notice this, but I did, just because my brain looks for weird shit. The shot that he's responding to the radio in, he's in a completely different car than they show up in.
That doesn't surprise me.
It looks like it's from the 50s.
That doesn't surprise me.
The car looks like it's from the interior shot looks like it's from the 50s. It's got like these broad windows, like there's no like compactness to it at all. And then they show up in a Caprice Impala.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. There's some continuity issues throughout the film, but once they do arrive, I was confused. Why are they just in street clothes? Are they like detectives?
They're detectives, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
but he's not dressed like a typical detective. He's wearing like a V-neck and like a blazer. Fair enough. And like a blazer. He looks kind of incredible. But he walks up during the shootout.
What was it with fashion of the time where Gary Daniels is in every possible piece of baggy clothing?
Because it's the 90s, baby. That's the late or mid to late 90s. Oh, there's the scene after this where they're in the park. Some of the best fashion that we've seen in a while since.
Yes, it was very seriously. It reminded me of just because they're cops, Miami Vice.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, he's wearing, like, in that park scene, he's wearing a soccer jersey, a billowing, gigantic soccer jersey, and then his partner is wearing, he reminded me of a Meltdown, like the sleeve, like the short sleeve, billowing, like, deep, like, button down where you can see his chest and he's shirtless underneath.
If somebody would have showed up with a blazer and bare chest, I would have been like, holy fucking shit.
He's not wearing, his partner's not wearing a blazer in that park scene, but he's got the button down open all the way down so we can see his pecs. It's amazing. But this shootout is pure chaos, just gunfire, they're throwing grenades and shit.
There is an infinite amount of grenades in this movie.
They have like a million of them strapped to them at all times. But after Gary Daniels and them arrive, they're like, okay, we got to do something. And I love, he just stands up in slow motion and walks down the middle of the road and shoots like a million guys.
Into the gunfire.
And none of them shoot him. This is a movie that suffers very badly from the villains of this film being just absolutely terrible shots.
Stormtroopers?
Yes. Like, legitimately, there's so many scenes where Gary Daniels is just out in the open and they're all shooting at him and never hit him.
Yeah, there's throughout there's shots that are like up here and over there in every possible direction aside from where the person you're trying to shoot is.
Terrible. It's terrible. But I love the slow motion walk. He's just gunning everybody down. They're throwing grenades at him and explosions are going off around him. It's kind of incredible. And yeah, all things considered, this is a pretty effectively filmed shootout. I was like, this is pretty good. And then, so they're like, we can't do anything. We're like, we're still pinned down. And I love one of them has a line at one point where they're like,
we can't fire into the bank. There's hostages in there.
Where's SWAT?
En route. Meanwhile, I got guys down all over the place out here.
they have shot hundreds of rounds at the front of this bank.
Yes. Yes. They
like, what are you talking about? You've already shot like 1 billion times at these guys. Like, I get what you're saying, but like also you've already shot so much at them. It was wild. Then we get he's just got to go super action. This is our superhero introduction to Gary Daniels. He picks up and he starts dual wielding, and he's just like
rolling over hoods and everything.
Rolling over hoods, yeah, like pointless rolls over hoods. He goes over hoods several times in this movie for like no reason. It's kind of amazing. And then, so then he sees, but he's trying to get, because the reason he's doing this dual wielding is during this, he sees a little girl like trapped in a car and her mom has gotten shot already or something like that. And he wants to go
360 no scoped.
Yeah, he wants to go save her. So he like rolls, he dives over the car and he gets over there to her and he's trying to get her out and she won't come out, but he finally coaxes her out and he's like, I got you. And then he's sitting there and then one of the gunmen
right next to him,
just gun pops up into frame. How did that guy get
no
there?
No spatial awareness.
Yeah, well, and also like there was two of them outside, and all of the cops are shooting at them, but somehow this guy snuck around.
His partner shows up and saves his ass, not by just like icing the guy from a distance, like a normal person would do it. Yeah. No, he just got to knock him out.
He grabs the gun. Again, both his partner and this criminal snuck up on him without him having any idea that they were there. And also, why would the criminal bring his gun up and not just shoot him? They've been shooting everybody to this point, but he's like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to hold my gun right here so your partner can disarm me.
Not the last time that happens in this movie.
No, it is not. Ugh, it's so stupid. But yeah, his buddy gets to save the day. And then we get some more. There's this one great, I think it's right here before the car chase, because then one of them takes off on a dirt bike. Yeah. We've killed most of the gunmen at this point. One of them's about to take off on a dirt bike. And as he's going, I think he blows up a car with a grenade. And there's this stunt man who goes fucking flying. Yes. It's incredible. His body's like, bro, what the hell? There's some incredible stunt work in this movie. It's kind of amazing. Then we get a sweet ass dirt bike chase.
It's pretty good.
Again,
great dirt bike chase.
Yes, it's actually pretty good. And I was also, this whole chase scene, I was like, you know what, Kyle? If only I could find something I loved to do in my life as much as this guy loves doing wheelies on his dirt bike during a high-speed chase. Because he's just nonstop wheeling.
They have a lot of great shots going over bridges, going downstairs and stuff, going through these scaffolding construction.
Yeah, and then we get this big long chase up that like construction like pier area or whatever, and he's like throwing grenades.
He has an infinite amount of grenades. It's like 30 of them.
Yeah, it's like watching Mario Kart or something. Yes. He's like dropping grenades off the back of this, and then he gets to the end of the pier, turns around and drives all the way back throwing grenades. And I love this whole time, there's all these cop cars chasing him. They all have had guns. None of them now will shoot this guy who's lobbing grenades everywhere.
Yes.
It's like chucking grenades into like just a populated, I guess it's not super populated, but yeah, just chucking grenades
like
everywhere.
Civilians, your fellow officers,
just like everybody. He's just throwing grenades and nobody shoots him this whole time. I was like, what are you guys doing? What is the plan here? I mean, as it goes, chucking grenades around in similar, like in places where there are people seems like a good time to pull the guns out, but no, I guess not. And then, so again, I was like, this must have been like 75% of the budget, because like there's cars like blowing up and flipping. The cop cars are like going through walls and shit. It's incredible. And they also have a ton of coverage. Like I was, normally in a bad movie like this, we get like for the big action scene, you get like a couple angles of it, and then they like try to stitch it together as best as possible. This, we get all kinds of like point of view shots from the front of the dirt bike. We get like shots from the sides of police cars and like all kinds of coverage.
It's insane.
It's amazing.
The guy on the dirt bike gets kind of away a little bit.
Yeah, he gets away and like gets back out into the city or whatever, and is driving around. And I love there's this one stunt that's incredible where a cop car goes up a dumpster through a street light. It ramps into a street light and like explodes. It's amazing. It's incredible. And then after all of this chase, this guy on this dirt bike who's just been like a Mario Kart All-Star so far, just drives into a wall. This chase ends by him just driving into a wall, seemingly at random, and crashing. And then a foot chase breaks out, and they chase this dude down, and they're all standing there, and he like turns around and he drops his gun. But then he looks to be reaching for another gun.
I'm not sure.
We never actually see if he was or what, and I think they intentionally leave it vague.
Yeah, but
he seems to be doing something, and then all the guys shoot him.
Yeah, they unload.
Yeah, and they kill him, and then they get over there and they pull his helmet off, and they're like, "It's a kid." And I was like, "Was it?" I couldn't tell.
Okay.
It just looked like a guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, but apparently it was a kid. And when they say kid, he was probably just like in his.
Somebody got this on the nightly news.
Yeah, where was that camera person? Because we cut to a news report, and they're like, "We have video," and there was like a camera right there.
Right there, it's like Gary Dangerous would be like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
I was like, we didn't see that person during the scene, but all of a sudden there was like a guy with like a professional level camera just sitting there, like filming all this.
It's truth be told, if you would have like shoved a camera into. What it reminds me of is Nightcrawler, the Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Where. I can't remember what. It's like one of the first things he shows up in, and he just gets a camera right in the guy's face, and the police are like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie since it came out. It's a good film from my memory. But yeah, it's so now we're getting a sort of an investigation into whether or not they used excessive force or whatever. And I was like, they chucking grenades everywhere, killed hundreds of people, civilians, or maybe not hundreds, but dozens of civilians. I was like, I feel like this one's kind of open and shut.
Yeah,
but
with the amount of arsenal they had on them, you don't know what the guy had.
Literally like throwing grenades everywhere as they're driving around. It's like, okay, all right. I mean, I get, all right. But then, but that doesn't actually really come back. It's not that big of a deal at that point. But then we got a cut, and we get a little bit of a cool down time after this like 25-minute, literally like a 20-minute action scene that opens the movie. Really impressive. We cut to them in the park in just the coolest clothes ever to introduce ourselves to Gary Daniels' family, who is it's his kids like playing soccer or whatever, and his wife.
Gary Daniels is very troubled by all this, though. He feels,
he feels bad,
scarred.
Yeah, he feels bad about it or whatever. And I was like, okay, sure. And then we cut. From there, again, we introduced his family and whatnot, and his partner and his wife. And then we cut to the bad guy's house, the crime boss.
Sloan, yeah.
Yeah, is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like the head of an unnamed crime family or whatever, basically. He seems to have an Italian accent. I assume we're going for like a mob kind of deal here.
It looks like it.
It would seem like it. I love when we first see him, they show his house, and they have a giant tiger skin on the wall,
it's so
but it's so weird. Like, sure, but it doesn't. It's just not just on the wall. It like goes up onto the ceiling.
It also has a weird like outline of the whole thing. It's like outlined black.
It's very strange. I was like, that's the weirdest looking tiger skin I've ever seen. Okay, sure. And yeah, it's like it didn't fit on the wall, and they're like, well, I guess just put it onto the ceiling. I don't know what to
It's also
do.
got these elephant tusks.
Yeah,
that are there too.
It's so weird. They. Basically, we established that they're upset. It was this guy, the last one they killed on the dirt bike was his son.
Yes.
His youngest son.
He has 5 sons.
He has 5 sons who will all become important to lesser or greater extent over the course of the film. But he's very upset, and apparently his son had. This wasn't like. And originally, I thought the whole idea was that this was going to be like a mafia bank job or whatever. But it's not.
No, it's just a random bank job.
He left the family. This kid left the family. Was driven out by the father. They never really go into details there, or whatever.
You threw him out into the streets. You drove him into that gang.
And joined like a roving bank robbing band or so, I don't know.
Yeah, he joined the Four Presidents
or whatever. Yeah, exactly. And so then, so his mom's there too. She's very upset about this whole thing, and she's mad at the dad for having driven him away into this life of crime, from their life of crime into a different life of crime.
But the father wants revenge.
Oh yes,
It goes very much to, look how they massacred my boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look how they massacred my boy.
He's gonna get revenge, and he has like a list of all of the cops that were involved in the shooting or whatever, and he's got to go take them all out. And I love the first one we get is they talk about how there's one guy who always like goes and sees the same prostitute or something like that. This is amazing.
Okay.
What?
So
it's amazing.
When the van is a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
They do come a knockin'. We see our only one and only boobs in this film is this scene where the prostitute is having sex with somebody who we don't see in this van that is shaking vigorously on the side of the road. And the two cops walk up to like bust it because they know who she is or whatever, and they open it and they're like, "Get out of here!" And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then this guy just falls from behind and blows them away. It's kind of amazing. And then we cut directly from that. We get like a montage here of the hits being carried out. And the next one, they literally just
walk into a police station.
Into the police station.
In uniform and everything. Like, how'd they get these uniforms?
They're the mob. They have connections. We find out later. Yeah. But yeah, they walk into this police station and just start shooting everybody, and nobody shoots them.
Yes.
It's a whole police station full of cops with guns, and not a single one of them fires a weapon at these two people shooting at them. It's fucking insane.
Even more so, they still don't know like who this kid is, because they considered him a John Doe. They didn't have any idea or anything. One of the guys who like finishes off, like,
kills the cop in the police station.
It says,
"My name's Devin. You killed my brother."
My name's like Devin or something like that.
He goes, "This is for my brother."
My brother is like, nobody heard that or anything? You still have no connection?
Well, and then apparently they just walk out of a police station where they murdered a bunch of cops with zero response. Like, because we just see him later in the movie and he's like, there's no, it's like, what? Are you okay,
so
sure.
insane.
Okay, I believe that. That makes sense. Absolutely.
Writing maybe is not this movie's strong point.
No. Definitely. Well, yeah, I would say no. It's definitely a vehicle for silly action. Yes. Like, the plot they're not super worried about. Then we got our next hit, though, which is the guy driving the car down the road, which the scene cracked me up because he gets pulled up on two sides by like two cars, and he sees the guy sitting in the passenger seat of the car right next to him, and he's like, "Oh shit," and the guy pulls the gun out and points it at him, and I'm like, bro, just slow down.
Yeah, just hit the brakes.
There's nobody behind you, but he just keeps driving and just gets shot a bunch.
Yep. And they get,
what are you doing?
I don't know where this is. I know how they film this to a degree because they're just switching locations all over the place.
Yeah.
But I don't know what situation has an open road in LA that empties out into the top of a car lot.
A car garage?
Yeah.
They do just teleport to the top of a parking structure. I'm like, wait, what just happened? Okay. But so now that guy's dead too. These three hits all gone off without a hitch, just like masterfully planned. And then my favorite thing is then we get to Gary Daniels' hit, and instead of being this like perfectly executed, execution like it was with all the other ones, they just like bump his car on the road and he gets away. It's like, what was your plan there? Yeah. Like all these other ones, you had like very intense, like specific plans, and then the one on Gary Daniels, they just kind of like hit his car and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna shoot you," and then they don't shoot him. Fantastic. Anyways, it's So now they've killed everybody. They know they're after the cops, or they know they're after these people. And Gary Daniels needs to take his family and go into hiding.
Tells the police chief. The police chief's like, "Yeah, go into hiding or whatever."
Yeah.
You're the only officer witness left. We'll put you in the protection program.
No way, Captain.
No what?
I want this case.
Ray.
This police chief's acting.
He's not.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just like what he was given to work with or what have you, but like it is very much with Darth Helmet or whatever from Spaceballs, where he's disguised himself as the king, and he goes, Would I lie?
Would I lie?
Yeah. It's like, boy, I wonder if this guy's in with the mob or whatever.
Yes.
It's not obvious at all.
We're in with the sharks on this one, Ray. Jesus, we're in with the great whites. We have to proceed with extreme caution.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. So now we're starting to figure out that the him and one of the other cops are in with this crime.
Well, apparently half the fucking division is.
Yeah, several of them, but mainly the two guys that we see, including again the chief or whatever captain, whatever the main guy is, who's very, very bad actor, and also has no. We'll get to his fight later at the end of this movie. It's so stupid. But so now he's got to go into hiding. So he takes the kids to like some beach house or whatever. Gary Daniels does, and they're driving somewhere from there. They're like driving. They get to the beach house and they're hanging out, but then they got to go somewhere else. And so they get in the car and they're driving. And as they're driving down this mountain highway, the mobsters show up.
Yes,
in a giant like semi truck or cement truck. I don't even know what it is.
Well,
Some
it's
giant
just
truck.
like a regular Cadillac at first.
Oh, well, they have two vehicles,
they have two. The amount of shots that they had to cut just before Gary Daniels' vehicle ate shit because it got like pit maneuvered and whatnot.
And flipped over.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's a pretty impressively shot chase between this giant truck and their family vehicle, and there's his family's in the car.
Also, wear your fucking seatbelts, kids.
Right, for real. Gary Daniels is wearing his, I believe. I guess probably why he survives, which we'll get to that here in just a second. But yeah, so they're not wearing their seatbelts. They're in the back of this, like he's driving like a Bronco or whatever. I don't know what it is. It's
like a Bronco.
It's something like it's probably not a Bronco. I'm sure somebody will tell us in the comments. But it's like it's that kind of style of vehicle. And his wife and they're in the car. And I love one of the mobsters who's in the truck with the guy driving the truck is like.
Oh, the one with the conscience. He's like,
he's like, come on, man, there's kids in that car. And the guy driving goes, screw the kids, kill them all. It's amazing.
There's kids in that car. Screw the kids, kill them all.
I love it. And yeah, we have a pretty great chase here. And then eventually they get them where they ram them to the edge of a cliff, basically.
Yes.
And they're like,
they get into a pushing match with their vehicles.
Which obviously this giant truck has more, torque or whatever horsepower than their Bronco or whatever does. And they're pushing them over the ledge. And I love it. Cuts inside the car. And Gary Daniels grabs the kid's hand and is holding it. And he's like, hold on, like that's gonna do something. Like you're going off a cliff.
Yeah.
What is holding their hand?
And also, like your kids, definitely aren't restrained.
I was like, I would be yelling, put your seatbelts on, quick! Like, what are you? Okay, great, fantastic. But eventually, they do push them over the cliff, and they roll. This car rolls forever.
The only thing that saves it is it just doesn't explode.
Yeah, it literally. Yeah, it's the only thing that saves Gary Daniels' life. But he rolls like a mile down this cliff, and then miraculously survives though, and wakes up in a monastery or like something like that. It's some sort of like Catholic because there's like a father there who's like taking care of him who used to be a doctor or something. It doesn't really matter. But he wakes up in this monastery, and I love his partner comes in, and they're like hiding him there, I guess, because they don't want the mob to know he's alive or something like that.
He should be in the hospital. You should not have taken him from there.
I would have left him, he would have been killed.
And his partner comes in and he's like, tell it to me straight. Where are my wife and kids? And his partner just says, I'm sorry, man. And I was like,
Tina and the kids, where are they?
He has like no reaction to telling his best friend that his wife and children died. He's just like, I'm sorry, man. Kind of sucks. It's kind of like the same thing if like somebody asked me if like if I had the $10 I owed to them, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I don't. It's like that kind of conversation, but he's talking about his family being dead. It's wild.
Like, Marcus, your dog died. Did you see that meme?
No.
It's so good. I'll stick it.
Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Kevin, your dog just died.
Oh God! So then so he's now recuperating in the monastery because he was grievously injured, but he obviously survived. And then we find out that the crime boss is very upset that they killed kids. It's not his MO, man. He doesn't hurt kids. He's got
There's literally no repercussion for it though.
Think I killed 2 kids and a woman? Fuck that! I don't need that shit in my life.
No, not at all. There's no investigation. There's no nothing. They seemingly, they just, like, whatever. They all get away with just murdering this family. Seemingly nobody gets arrested for it or anything. But the crime boss very upset about it.
But you managed to kill his wife and kids. I strictly forbid that.
It was unavoidable.
Never have I been responsible for killing a kid.
And then
we get this very, very, very blatantly obvious shit's going to happen shot of his partner walking out to his car.
Yes. Oh, like, God, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I've seen Casino.
Yeah. He's just like, I'm walking to my car. Definitely not anything. We normally wouldn't be watching the scene of you walking to your car for
It's like,
5
oh, look,
minutes.
hey, look, a shot that has no importance. He just get in his car and driving off. Oh, it explodes.
It exploded. Oh, no. So his partner has now also been murdered.
Yes.
And he's back at the monastery. He's like, gonna kill himself. He's like, he does like the very slow gun to the head moment, and then at the last sec, kind of like actually like champagne at the end of he's in like the same setting and everything. But then the priest walks in and is like, you shouldn't do that because you should do not that.
Yeah,
like he just talks to him for
don't do the thing.
You have to stop yourself, my son.
All I see is darkness. All I feel is despair.
Yeah, he just talks to him for 5 minutes and basically talks him out of killing himself, and we get a sweet stained glass montage. But then, basically, he now has figured out that the chief was involved because he found a tracking device on his car.
Well, he was told there was a tracking device on his car, and the only people who would have known where he was going to go would be the
chief or whatever. So he knows the chief is corrupt, and the chief on the phone is like, no, I'm not corrupt. What are you talking about?
No, you're mistaken, Morgan.
I'm coming for you, Trent.
You're confused. Of course you are.
What? No.
But so he's now on his revenge mission. This is the Recoil.
This is where the bloodbath starts.
Yes.
This is where the whole film goes off the rails.
It goes off the rails entirely. Up to this point, it's been like a fairly competent, normal movie. And then it gets, it still remains that mostly for the rest of it. But the end of this movie is fucking wild. So he goes to a pool party that they're hosting, that the mafia's hosting.
There's a large number of people at this pool party who knows who he is specifically.
Yes.
They were handed his file with his photo.
This happens twice in this movie, by the way, but yes. Yeah.
But he is able to sneak in as a waiter.
Yeah, just walks in as a waiter. The guy they're all trying to kill just wanders in. It's like, oh, okay. And as a waiter, and then he just starts beating the shit out of everybody. And I love that they have guns like up on the balcony, and they're gonna shoot him, but then the crime boss guy's like, no guns.
No, okay.
But then they immediately start shooting like 5 minutes late. Like, I don't know what the no guns thing was. It was just so we could watch Gary Daniels do hand-to-hand combat against, and kick some people's ass for a few minutes. Like, I don't understand the no guns thing. But he gets in a fight with one of the other sons and snaps his neck. He snaps a lot of fucking necks. Yeah, he snaps one of the sons' necks. But it was real weak. It doesn't feel like a very satisfying. It's just like, and he's like, oh no, I'm dead. Oh yeah. But then they all just start shooting again, and there's this great moment where Gary Daniels has been hiding.
This alcohol bar, this little alcohol bar they have, this
like a little cart or whatever.
It is the best reinforced. If you can find that on Amazon, buy it. It is a worthy investment.
Yeah, it will save you in a shootout for sure. But then there's that, and then they can't find him, and they look down over the railing, and he pops out, kicks out from underneath the table and starts shooting. And this is the shootout where he has 2 revolvers and just shoots a million fucking bullets.
It's so good.
It's ridiculous. And they're all he's just standing. He's in a shooting gallery. They're all above him, looking down at him, and none of them can hit him. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so then he's able to get away. Like, he gets out of there, and we get a great shot of the crime boss standing over the son whose neck he snapped body. And it's like he doesn't know what to do with his hands. The crime boss is standing there like,
Look
how
at
do
that
I
mess
react?
with
Yeah,
my boy
I guess that's what he's
again.
going for, but he's just like, and it looks like he doesn't know what to. It's very funny.
Art, we good? We good, Art?
Oh, goodness. So yeah, then we get it confirmed that the chief is is working with the mob because he's now talking to him about what they're gonna do or whatever. And then there's another chase at some point, or is this the one where I can't remember? Yeah, this is the one where he's driving in the and there he finds the limo.
Yeah, the limo scene is fucking insane.
This is fucking amazing.
Yes.
So much happens in this. He finds one of the other sons is leaving the country in a limousine.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we got to get him out of here. He's going to go to Italy or whatever, or France or something.
The guy you have with him, who is like the bloodthirsty guy, is also the only competent henchman they have.
Absolutely the only one that's even close to competent because he is bloodthirsty and crazy, I guess. But
which I guess, what does that tell you about Gary Daniels?
Fair enough. But then, which Gary Daniels in every movie that he's been in, that's like his deal. Because the last one we did with him that was his whole thing. He just wanted to go fight in the fighting ring and kill people. But in this one, like this, they're in a limousine, and I love that at one point they throw a grenade at Gary Daniels and it blows up a cop car, and the shot of that cop car flipping over on fire is fucking amazing.
Incredible. It is incredible.
Because one of the angles
so fucking close to the camera.
Yes, one of the angles is they have the camera shooting out the back of a car, and it's driving, and the cop car's driving at them, and it flips on fire towards the camera as it's driving away, and I was like, holy shit.
I don't know who their prop master, or I'm not sure what you,
or pyrotechnics or whatever. I don't know.
But whoever is in charge of ensuring the equipment must have been like having a heart attack during that shot.
Fucking amazing. That shot of that car flipping towards the camera is so cool.
So good.
It's so good. I was like, well done. I hope you didn't destroy the camera for it, but that was worth it. But then, so there's like all kinds of explosions. So now he gets, and he's like, they've stopped in like some traffic or something, and he's trying to get to them, and he's shooting at them, and they're driving, and the guy
backwards. He's doing this. This is so good. This is so incredible. He's running over the top of cars, firing at him, while they're driving backwards, and the other guy's in the sunroof just unloading.
It's amazing.
So cool.
It's so amazing. And then he gets to the end, he's out of bullets, and he jumps onto the limousine.
And the credit to the limo driver. I mean, obviously they got a stunt guy in there, but whoever, how many limo drivers who can do that crazy spin, spin into neutral, drive, turn in a limo,
full, like 180, like whip the tail around.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. But then he dives onto the roof. Also, I love that while the guy's shooting at him out of the sunroof, he's got like a cigar hanging out of his lips. He's like, it's amazing. It's fucking amazing. But now Gary Daniels is hanging onto this guy on the sunroof, and they're fighting over the gun this guy has, and he just amazingly one shot underneath in the car. He can't see.
The best part of that, like he drops the gun in the vehicle, and then the son picks up and is like, "Oh, here you go, and then immediately
gets shot. Yeah, and so he kills the son in one shot. Like we can't even see him because he's outside the car. It's incredible.
And then this shot. I don't know how they are secured to the top of this limousine.
They probably dude. I don't know.
I know, like Gary Daniels probably has like a harness right here.
Yeah, and it's like
to the top
into the sunroof.
The other guy, I'm not sure about, because there's so many shots where he about eats shit flying out of that limo.
This scene where they're driving and swerving all over the highway while it was like watching like a Jackie Chan movie or something. It was like that level of stunt.
Now the real question is,
like,
stunt doubles or not stunt doubles?
I don't know. I mean,
because this is kind of a dangerous enough stunt where you would need stunt doubles.
I would think that maybe Gary Daniels wouldn't be doing it. The other guy might just be a stunt actor, like, because he doesn't do a lot of acting, so he might just be like a stunt actor who has a more prominent role. Who knows? But yeah, they're driving down the highway forever, and then they eventually skid and like swerve out, and I don't remember why, but because he shoots the driver. He's able to shoot I think accidentally, but he shoots the driver, and the car skids the limo skids to a stop sideways on this like bridge on the highway. And this giant truck comes out of nowhere and can't stop, apparently. Its brakes are out. And Gary Daniels jumps off of the limo at the last second.
And it just explodes, splits in half. It's so good.
And the shot of Gary Daniels flying away from the explosion, gravity is not functioning on his body.
No,
he's clearly like on cables or something.
Yes.
Because his body is moving in a way that gravity would not allow normally, but it still looks fucking amazing.
The whole sequence of this limousine like chase and fight and everything is probably the best thing in this whole film.
It's incredible. And the opening was really good too. And this one is, it's fucking nuts. It's so good. And that's what I'm talking about.
I think the fact that this is because this one is more condensed that makes it a little bit.
It's not. Yeah, this one's only like 5 or 10 minutes as opposed to like 25 minutes that the first one. The first one just never ends. I was very impressed with all of this. And again, I was like, why is this guy not like an action director, like a second unit action director for movie? Like wild, so good. But then we cut back. The crime boss is mad. He shoots one of the corrupt cops because he failed at something. Who knows? I don't know. Doesn't matter. And then we're getting prepped for the big finale, and Gary Daniels is in his candlelit room brooding and having flashbacks to his dead family.
Is that the votive cameras, whatever?
Votive,
and he basically it's too much for me. I have to forsake.
This is
my religion for revenge.
I gotta go get my revenge.
He also has, we didn't mention this, one of his character things that he kind of messes is a Zippo lighter.
Oh,
he has a Zippo lighter.
He does have a Zippo lighter. I forgot about that. It will become important here momentarily. This is another scene, though. He is the main guy they're looking for. He's the last one. And they lure him to this place specifically. Yeah, it's like a power plant.
Because they have one son left, Nikki, and they're like, Nikki's going to be at the power plant. I hope Morgan doesn't come to the power plant.
Yeah. And then my favorite thing, he sneaks into the power plant dressed as a water delivery guy, and walks right past the villains of the movie. Like the crime boss and everybody is right there.
Not only that, the chief of police even says, everybody who's here is our guys.
All the workers have gone home. Every man on the floor is one of ours. Good. Everything okay with you, Nick?
Why is there a water delivery then, dude? I was like, what? One, you know what he looks like. Two, were you expecting a water delivery at this moment? What the fuck?
And third, everybody who's at the plant right now knows this guy because they worked with him.
Yes, it's so stupid. I was like, how does he just walk in as the water delivery? Okay, sure, fine, whatever. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Then he starts working his way through this power plant, slowly murdering everybody, silently breaking necks with his legs and just all kinds of nonsense. Eventually, he gets into a face-off with. He's trying to chase the chief down. The chief is running from him.
I also like how just randomly there's occasionally these corrupt cops or whatever. There's occasionally one who's competent, and just randomly will give him an actual fight.
Oh, yeah. There's that one guy with the pipe who he fights who's like a martial artist, apparently, who's just like beating the shit out of him with a pipe. And they actually have a pretty good fight. And during that fight with the guy with the pipe, the chief
is right above him
with a gun!
There's even a point where he's like strangling him like this, where it's like, you have all of his torso to shoot.
Shoot him! I was losing my mind. I was like, what is happening? Because he's like, oh no, I'm so scared. But he's just watching him holding a gun. And then, so he kills that guy, and now he's climbing up to get the chief, and then he just magically teleports above the chief somehow and jumps onto him from like a metal thing that he was hiding on. And
dead.
And chokes him to death. It's so anticlimactic. Like the big moment with the chief, he just kind of like immediately jumps on him, strangles him, and then he's dead. I was like, oh, okay, I get. Like, how is like so many of the early scenes in this movie so incredible, and then the big finale is so boring.
It's so bad.
It's so boring. Then we get to face off with the final brother. We get a shootout moment, which I did love this.
This is so ridiculously bad.
Love this.
Okay, so this guy has been killing your family, all the people in your mafia, whatnot, even the dirty cops that you have under your control. What's the very first thing you do when you get the drop on him?
You don't shoot him immediately.
And then you yell at him. And then you taunt him a little bit?
And then you taunt him about his dead family. nothing.
Yeah, and then you completely fucking miss.
And then you fail at shooting him. And then you get shot with a fucking bullet cam shot, baby. That was my favorite part of this scene. He like shoots at him and misses. And it's like an Old West like shootout standoff style deal. And then he like shoots him and then we get the Sam Raimi bullet cam. Yeah, it's incredible. Kills the last brother. And now he's finally chasing down the crime boss guy, the final hurdle here to get his revenge. And he gets the crime boss guy and he beats him up or whatever.
This is probably the most egregious one. Like they get into it. No, they're in a shooting standout.
Yeah, they're shooting at each other and stuff.
Gary Daniels just walks into the frame, I guess, and he fires 2 rounds, and it's like 12 feet that way. It's like 12 feet that way. It's like, how do you miss that bad?
I don't know, man. I don't know. But so then he's able to disarm him and beat the shit out of him. And the crime boss is like, just kill me. Just do it or whatever. And Gary Daniels is like, no.
Do it!
And I was like, wait, what? I was going to be I was going to lose my mind.
This reminds me so much of the Uncharted games where they go through this whole thing of like, oh, you're just a ruthless killer, Nathan Drake, aren't you?
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm not like you. And he just walks away at the end or something like that. Or
it's like you've killed hundreds of people.
You killed like 200 people to get to this guy.
Yeah, you've killed everybody to get to this moment. And then it's even and it's not even undercut, which I actually appreciated, because the thing that would have been terrible is if he would have murdered everybody to get here, and then at the last minute,
it serves no payoff.
Yeah, well, and then if at the last minute he was like, "You're right, I won't be a killer," and he holsters his gun and walks away and leaves him there, and he gets arrested. Like, what is that ending? Because again, he's murdered everybody to get. It's not like it doesn't mean anything, but they even it doesn't even do that, which while bad would kind of make sense. He like puts his gun away and walks away, and then pulls out his Zippo lighter and blows him up. And I was like, okay. Sure. Great.
Yeah.
Fine. He just blows them up.
And then, cool guys don't look at explosions.
Slow-mo walk away, explosion behind him, roll credits. It's kind of an amazing ending. I will say that. The end of this movie is kind of like the fact I was like, please just cut right to credits. I don't want any back. I don't want anything else. I don't want an epilogue. I don't want nothing. I just want credits.
I don't think there's much epilogue to go with. I mean, you killed everybody.
Yep, that's what I mean. I don't want all of his friends and family are dead. It's the worst thing ever. The end. and they just
the only person of note who is alive is his partner's wife.
Yeah, literally the only character we've been introduced to other than Gary Daniels that's still alive at this moment is, well, and the crime lord's wife, I believe, is still alive. Those, like, 2 people. But yeah, it's kind of amazing. I loved this ending, and I would say that this movie is definitely good, bad.
It's good, what we could do, if anything, it's so weird because if we just had like the point in which his family's dead and afterwards is complete madness and insanity, and everything before that is competent to the point of almost just being good.
Like almost just being good. But the script is weak enough to where it's like not a well-written movie. Like it's not a good movie.
Yes.
But it's so competently shot and like the action and everything is so good that it's like
Yeah, when the guy you've been tasked with assassinating just walks into your house party or whatever, your pool party in waiter's clothes, and you're like, hey, yep, that's a waiter. Okay.
It's so stupid. But again, everything else is so good in it, and it's so not boring. It's an hour and 30 minutes, like on the nose, and there's just so much nonsense and chaos. It's kind of incredible that I would highly recommend watching it. This one is available on Tubi. Both of the one we're talking about next time is also available on Tubi. Recoil. Woof. Good bad.
Yes.
Absolutely good bad. Kyle, that's going to do it for this episode. As always, you can do us a giant favor by heading over to patreon.com/GBorBB and support us there for a few bucks and get access to stuff, including a podcast where we answer questions, which we're about to record here in just a few minutes, and we'll have another one out where we're going to answer a bunch of questions from people on Discord and on Patreon. And if you've ever had something you want to ask us, support us on Patreon. You can hear the questions other people have asked us, but in the future, you'll be able to ask us questions.
Here's our crazy opinion on bad movies.
There you go. Yeah, a lot of it is generally talk about like favorite bad movie moment, best whatever, a lot of that kind of stuff. But other stuff too. So go check that out, and you can also get some other stuff on Patreon. But that's the main thing. I have a podcast called This Film Is That we're talking about movies that are based on books. When this episode is out, the most recent episode will have been The Jungle Book. No, yes, The Jungle Book, the 1967 Disney.
So I know
book.
the Disney one, but is the regular book? What is that like?
It's Rudyard Kipling, The Jungle Book.
That.
Oh, he's a very famous like British author guy from like the late 1800s or whatever. Anyways, but yeah, he wrote a book called The Jungle Book that's like short stories about like Mowgli and the animals and all that sort of stuff. That the movie is like very loosely based on. But that's what we're talking about most recently, and then coming up before too long, Kyle. 50 Shades of Grey, baby. God. That's our summer series. So if you want to hear me talk about 50 Shades of Grey.
Also, it hasn't been made into a movie or a TV series yet, but the one that they're basically just calling 50 Shades of Grey with werewolves. The Millennium Werewolf.
I have not seen this.
Oh my God. It looks ridiculous.
All right, I'll have to check that out. I have not heard of this. It sounds
I just saw the book trailer to it.
Yeah.
Which is just, it reminds me a lot of 50 Shades
I'll
of Grey.
check it out. That sounds fun. But yeah, that's this film is it. You can go find us on all the podcasting platforms. You can also do us a favor by supporting us on tpublic.com. Just buy some merch. Any of the merch you buy there, just search for Good Bad or Bad. A little bit of it supports us and goes to the show.
Morning coffee and it's got Good Bad. Yeah.
There you go. All kinds of stuff. And I believe that... Oh, P.O. Box. We're actually about to do the P.O. Box. I wanted to remind here, if you want to send us stuff for the P.O. Box, because we're actually going to be out. We don't have a ton right now, but we're going to do all that stuff and put a video out. So we'll need some more stuff in the future. If you want to send us movies like these people did, again, sending us a physical copy is a good way to... increase your odds of it getting done on the show. But anyways,
especially when we get wild ones like Recoil.
But we have lots of them, so it's not a guarantee if you send us something that we're gonna do it because we have hundreds of movies at this point. But it increases your odds. So yeah, the PO box on the screen, you can send us stuff, and it doesn't have to be movies. It can be whatever. Somebody like. In case you haven't watched the P.O. Box episode, somebody sent us minifigs of us, which is so amazing.
Cool. It's so good that I feel like I'm almost as tall as Brian.
Yeah, in this one, we're the same height, Kyle.
Look it really helps.
We're the same height.
I have very low self-esteem.